All right, Pitt legend, Hugh Green. Hugh, Joe Moore offensive line camp. We're going into our 11th year here in Pittsburgh. Why do you think Coach Moore's legacy still speaks to former players like yourself? What was it about Coach Moore that people loved and come here to honor him and pass his techniques on?
Well, the basis of it is people give him credit for the offensive side, but he had retrospect of the defensive side, which was a taught version, because in that process that he used to always tell me, he learned a lot from me to process in his offensive alignment. So we had I put it there, at the beginning, a love-hate version.
Yeah.
And then the process matured and he grasped it and put it all together to I guess, enhance both sides of the ball in that way, especially offensive line.
It makes sense. I mean, if you're smoking his left tackle,
yes,
he wants to know what technique you're using.
Exactly.
And what technique he can teach his guy
to go against that.
Because let's face it, for you guys who know Hugh Green, man, you were up for the Heisman as a defensive player.
Yeah.
So you were pretty good.
Yeah, I was decent. I went.
You were decent, two-time All-Pro in the NFL.
Well, again, I worked hard, and everybody around me, which was the retrospective, same thing as Coach Moore. We worked hard, and everybody made each other work hard, and we learned from each other. We could sit down and you can learn, and you go and you could pace it in that way. And so that was the maturity point of Coach Moore. Coach Moore, at one time, like I said, it was a love-hate, and then it was a love-hate respect type of version. He loved to hate me, and then he respected me because of what I did. But again, in that same version, it taught him rhetoric with his offensive lineman, what to do, what not to do, how to be challenged by other teams. And he felt that with myself and Ricky Jackson, that if he learned a lot from us, then he can go and process that on into other schools that he went to and other teams that he went to.
Wow, that is amazing perspective from somebody that knew Coach Joe Moore. Of course, Hugh Green, Heisman Trophy candidate. I was never a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Well, in that period in time, the world wasn't ready for the challenge of, especially from the defensive end. And still it's not, because we haven't had anybody, period, base defense ever win the Heisman or be characterized in that. We've had a lot of guys come close, but they were never up to the fulfillment.
They weren't Hugh Green, baby.
No, they weren't Hugh Green.
PITT Pitt.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Hugh.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Hugh Green, in a word, devastation.
One of the things I remember about Hugh was his great ability to keep blockers off his legs. You don't see too many players with that innate ability.
And not a real big fellow, but he had quickness, and he was an excellent tackler.
Natural strength. I don't think Hugh was much into weightlifting, but he had great biceps. He had so much upper body strength.
Green was on the cover of Sports Illustrated with the headline, "Baddest Cat in the Game." He was sitting there in his blue Pitt jersey with his arms folded and a Black Panther in the background. And that said, Pitt was the preseason #1 team that year in 1980 by Sports Illustrated.
And over his 4-year career, he collected 49 quarterback sacks. Basically, he lived in the other team's backfield, and he really broke ground when he was the runner-up for the Heisman in 1980. His second-place finish was the highest for a purely defensive player.
He got ripped off. He should have won the Heisman Trophy. There was no better college player in that senior year than Hugh Green.
Just tremendous explosiveness and speed, and just the spearhead of the great teams that Pitt had during the late 70s, early 80s.
Roger Houston was the PA announcer, the famed Meadows harness announcer. And he had that thing where he said, "Hugh Green," and the crowd would get into it, and those were fun days. They really were.
It's no coincidence that the most dominant defensive player in Pitt history played on some of the most dominant teams in Pitt football history.